I'm Guy Sakalakis with Attorney Sync, and I have had 5 emergency flight experiences.
And I'm Conrad Somm from Mockingbird, and I brew my own beer. And right now is the perfect time, if you grow your own hops, to pick them. They generally come good at around September 15th.
Practical information for lawyers everywhere.
I'm Josh Hostilo. I'm Director of Product at Filevine, and in a previous career, I actually coached baseball and have 6 guys in the major leagues right now.
Wow.
Well, you must be an amazing coach.
Thank you.
And I'm Stefanie Minter. I am the product manager at Filevine over the client portal. And I am an oboist. So I listened to your last episode, and I am also a woodwind player.
Did you bring your oboe?
I did not.
Next
That's
episode,
good.
next
I feel
time.
like the oboe is good with other instruments. It's less good on its own.
Especially for beginners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like a dying duck.
Yeah, it's not good.
She plays it on our team calls every morning. That's how we get up and make sure that
I do.
everybody's up.
Yeah, the alarm.
Well, welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. And as folks that are regular listeners might recognize, there's 4 of us here today. Conrad, where in the world are we?
We are in one of the most beautiful cities in the U.S., Salt Lake City. I'm super happy to be here at the Filevine User Conference. And you guys have put on an amazing event. We're going to spend the next 40 minutes or so talking about intake, Filevine technology, etc. But first, we'll start with the news.
So speaking of Filevine and LEX Summit, there's some new breaking Filevine news. Somewhat breaking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots going on.
Why don't you tell us what's
You
going
wanna
on at
share?
Filevine?
You're being a shy guest.
Absolutely. No, we have 400 million items in the swag store right now.
Beautiful swag store, I
yeah.
might say. Visors, pullovers, beautiful stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, actually, we just took on $400 million in funding to help grow our AI products and our core technology. I can tell you that we have some exciting things here today and tomorrow that's going to be announced, and some things that are going to be actually live demoed in our actual live sessions.
So I'm going to try and get you guys to share, because this is going to go out 2 weeks from now. So if you want to announce anything here, we've got a room sworn to secrecy. They won't share anything outside of this. So if you want to let our podcast audience in on some of those things, you can preempt your announcement. That would be just cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably won't share everything because some of it is some things we've been working on for a long time. But I will say that we got some things out with our Lead Docket product for our reporting engine that helps us get more granularity into every firm's hands. It additionally also will help sync with their Domo instances so they can see real graphical reports in real live time. It actually does an hourly sync and actually will merge all the data in there as well. So we can see anything now from your intake data to your expense data all the way down to your real-time ROI.
Ooh, that sounds great.
Did you say real-time ROI?
Conrad
did.
loves
Oh,
ROI.
we're going to get into that. You walked into a trap,
You didn't
dude.
know. It's Conrad's trigger word.
Excellent. Okay, good. Yeah. If you say Forbes, you'll piss him off, and you say ROI, you'll annoy me. All right, we'll talk about ROI. Real-time ROI. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So anything else you guys want? So that is $400 million.
Yep.
You guys going on a big hiring spree? Are you doing an acquisition spree? What does that look like? We've seen a lot of that happen with cash infusions to technology businesses.
No, I think, look, we acquired a company earlier this year, and really have integrated that into our product.
Okay.
So it was Parrot, do depositions and being able to do medcrons and things like that directly in our application. So we've done the acquisition already this year. Our hiring has been up and up for the whole year. I mean, we haven't slowed down. Our company is over 650 employees now. And so I joined 3.5 years ago, and we were at like just over 200. So, it's constantly growing. I can tell you that the infusion will definitely help our core product in that ability to build faster and deliver faster to our customers. I'll let Stefanie talk about the client portal portion of it, but we definitely have some things that we'll be showing on the main stage today as well.
All right, client portal, what's going on?
Yeah, client portal, we're going to be demoing tomorrow. We have a new release that we're really excited about that I want to save for tomorrow.
Okay.
But
Noted.
We're going to be talking about the growth we've seen with the adoption of the client portal. We only released it a year ago. We released it at LEX Summit last year. And we'll be talking about this tomorrow also, but we've seen just in the 2 months over doubling of the number of users of contacts being invited to the portal. And the number of actions that we're seeing on a weekly basis it's skyrocketing. So it's really cool. And my team's been really, really busy with just trying to add more features and make it that much more exciting and more helpful to law firms.
Yep. To say that we have this team was put together really 16 months ago, and it was kind of an idea of like, Ryan came to me and was like, hey, I want an app. And I was like, what do we want an app for? And it was like client communication. And I was like, we should just build a portal. Like, those are things that are commodities. Those are things that a lot of companies are building, and we should build that. And within 6 months, we announced it at last year's LEX. Stefanie's been a tremendous part of that product. She came on in January. And I like to say that I'm the big idea, get it off the ground. And then Stefanie's done an amazing job of getting newer features in over this last really 10 months. And that ability to really grow that product and really get it off the ground and going. I was the idea, but from there forward, it was Stefanie's. It's Stefanie's baby, and she's been running with it.
So I'm embarrassed to admit, is it only accessible via an app, or can you get it through a web app? Can you also get it through browser?
Yeah, so
it is not a standalone app.
Not a standalone app.
No, we did that so that there's no need to download any software.
That's what I wasn't clear on.
That has been a problem for other tech companies.
Absolutely.
And it's been a hurdle for adoption. It's a massive hurdle for adoption.
Yeah, so the way we've done it is it can be accessed via browser, either on your phone or on a desktop, but it can also, it's basically just saving the bookmark of the page to your device. Okay. And then it acts exactly like an app. You can get push notifications. You can access it the way you would an app you downloaded from the App Store without the need to download something.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
For those of you who have had coffee and have some questions you want to throw to us, bring it.
No brave souls yet.
And we'll throw stuff at you from Legal Talk Network if you ask a question.
Brian Glass is going to ask a question, whether he likes it or not.
I know.
He's sitting here. We're staring at him. We're putting him on the spot. Here he goes. He's got the mic.
So the client portal that you guys are building, right? There's two major competitors in the market already. There's Case Status and Hona. What makes yours different? And what makes yours different?
Great question.
Ours is more secure.
Boom.
And because it is integrated and part of the Filevine ecosystem, it's going to be more efficient in terms of our capability to have data automatically go back and forth between Filevine projects and the client portal. So think about, the security risk if you are sending information via text or via email, that it is going, out into the cloud, into servers outside of Filevine. And with law, that security is really important. With the Filevine client portal, it is all within Filevine. It never leaves. So you have that security that you don't have with a third-party app.
So let me throw pushback on that. I get the security thing. It becomes a limiting factor, though, right? Like, there are lots of things, like it's hard to get data in, it's hard to get data out. If you're using a different platform for data visualization, for example, you guys talked about Domo, which is great, but let's say you have a pre-existing thing we're using something else. Mm-hmm. Like, that becomes a limiting factor, right? To some extent.
Kinda. Real-time data is important, right? Every company that Brian mentioned is not getting real-time data. Okay. Our client portal is directly when the client logs into the app, when they actually click on the app, the progressive web app or the one that they've gone to the web and serviced, we're at that time calling Filevine, getting the most up-to-date information. So every time the client touches the page, it's the most up-to-date information. If you were using those other two apps, you're getting a daily sync. So whatever was daily was synced at 12 o'clock last night is exactly what the client's seeing. If that case changes at 8 o'clock in the morning, they don't know it. Unless they get a text from them, unless they get a message from them. That's the only way they know it. But they don't know, like, did their case change a particular phase in Filevine? They know that on a daily sync. They don't know that immediately. That's the difference.
I think for our generic listener, I think it's really important. You guys talked about...
We don't have generic listeners.
We have raving fans, Guy. We have raving fans who... By the way, the number of people who wanted photographs of me and you at the summit last week was
mostly you, let's face it.
It was mostly you?
It was you.
Yeah, okay. That was really, really nice. Sorry, I digress about how great we are. The growth. I want to make the point, you have seen massive adoption of the client portal. Hona exploded. Case Status was really, really popular. I think for our non-generic listener, the importance of communicating regularly and through an automated fashion where you are not spending a lot of time with your audience, with your clients is unbelievably important. Whether you're using one of these three tools, like it makes that happen. And if you are not, that's really something from a practice perspective I think you should be thinking about, because it is really, really important. We've seen things like reviews from the marketing side. This turns into being able to keep tabs on how happy people are with you from a client perspective. You can find areas in your organization where you need to improve in real time. You're really marketing to your existing customers in real time by keeping in touch with them. And if you're not doing that, that's a miss. That seems like something that should happen.
Yeah, keeping clients updated, it's twofold. So first of all, that's one of the biggest bar complaints, if not the biggest bar complaint, is clients not getting the communication they need throughout the life of a case. So having those automated updates, you're not having to remember during a busy schedule about, oh, I have to do these 50 things for these 50 different cases, but also I need to reach out to this client who their case hasn't moved in the last couple weeks.
Right.
So client portals handle that for you. Ours handles that for you. But there is also the marketing and the remarketing aspect of, if a client has a really good experience, feels like you're holding their hand all the way through, you're taking care of them, you're giving them that attention, they're more likely not only to come back if they need your services in the future, but to refer you to their friends, their colleagues, to post on, Reddit or social media that they had a good experience, or someone says, hey, anyone know a law firm? They're more likely to mention you.
Interesting you picked Reddit of that.
Yeah. What I'll say is that, and this leads into the intake portion a little bit, but intake is very much like the engagement period, right? When couples are together and they're very early on in their relationship, there's a lot of calls, there's a lot of texts, there's a lot of conversation, and that's what happens in intake, right? What typically happens in case management is once it gets signed up and it's in your case management platform, that engagement dies, right? And so people feel lost. Customers feel lost. The legal process is hard no matter who you are, no matter if you're in a law firm. A lot of paralegals, a lot of case managers still don't understand the whole process from end to end. Imagine you have a client that has never had a legal case before and they have no clue what's going on. That client portal is that ability to say, we no longer have that gap in communication. We no longer lose the honeymoon phase at intake, right? And that's what we've seen, is that I'm not going to number. Stefanie's got great numbers that are going to be shown in our show, but in general, I will say that there are almost more daily active customers on the client portal than there are Filevine users.
Wow. And it's also the other thing too that I think about, and I would follow up too, I want to clarify something, but it gives you the ability to be proactive about communication, right? And so you're not just reacting when clients want something. You can actually, especially if it's real time, you can actually like fire messaging notifications out as things are happening. I mean, I think that's a huge advantage. I want to clarify one thing though, because Conrad mentioned it made it more difficult to get data out, but you can get data out of the system now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Audit data, we've loaded that into the Filevine report engine. That can all be synced with anybody that has Periscope, or if they're using other tools to get it out of the system. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about flagging negative things, right? So we talked about the value of staying in touch with your clients. What if your clients are annoyed? How that end client is not having a good experience? How does that get flagged? How does it get handled?
Yeah, I think preventing it, number one, is your first choice, right? Is that giving them enough information that is going to prevent them from being aggravated of the situation of where they are, right? Brian brought up a great point of saying that we have, how does a PI case, how does a client who's injured, how do they handle that portion of it, right? And because it is new to almost every legal client, you have some repeat offenders, you have people who have been through the process before, but at the end of the day, you have to attempt to prevent it. Now, as far as flagging is concerned, I'll say we've added in notifications within our client portal that allows the legal team to get a notification every time something changes from the client. If the client uploads a document, if the client uploads sometimes if they send a text or if they send a message through the client portal directly, all of those things can be set up on notifications that can be sent directly to the legal team, not just in Filevine, but to their cell phone or to an email, that they automatically getting these things outside of just Filevine as well.
How do you deal with automation blindness, right? Like, I think one of the potential for CRM systems, intake management, et cetera, automation, notifications, like I've got 17 things and I stop listening to that.
Yeah. I always say that there is always really two very important roles in a law firm. There's your intake admin and then your case management admin. Both of those jobs are very important to what should be automated and what shouldn't be automated throughout your system. We'll take it for intake perspective. In intake, you can automate a whole lot of things. Client fills out a web form, they get a text message from your law firm that says, we'll be reaching out to you within 5 minutes. Here's the number we're calling from. That makes them feel comfortable. Those things should be automated. But when a client sends in injury photos, there shouldn't be an automated text that goes back that was like, hey, thanks. Like
Right.
that's not heartfelt, that's not transparent, there's no empathy in those things. And so there has to be someone over the automation portion of your law firm. There has to be someone who has deviations from the automation that says, if a client responds with this, we shouldn't automate that text message. We shouldn't automate that, right? And so having those keywords in there to stop some of your automations.
Who's the right person within a law firm, right? A lot of people are wearing lots of hats. The dearth of kind of technical savvy has been talked about quite a bit inside a law firm. Who's the person who's running that in a perfect scenario?
Perfect scenario to someone that you've hired on to help run your case management platform and your intake platform. I do not believe it should be an attorney, a paralegal, a case manager, someone who is actively working active cases.
Okay.
I ran a law firm prior to being at Filevine. We had 97 employees, and I can tell you we had people that directly worked on our case management platform and our intake platform as far as automations being set up, different questions that needed to be added into the system. If you have a case manager, a paralegal, an attorney doing those things, it's not billable hours in PI, but you're losing a lot of billable hours.
All right, you're a 5-person firm. You're a five lawyer firm.
Yep.
You don't have that person.
Yep.
Am I depending on my vendor? Am I hiring out? Like what is, and who am I looking for?
Yeah, best practices that we've seen are implementation consultants that have managed service plans long term, right? They're able to technically be an extension of your law firm. Okay. They can come in, they have the best how-tos, they have the ability to say, we've seen this in hundreds of other law firms, and this is how it should be set up going forward.
Okay.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up is I noticed, and we throw some of these different legal tech words out, like intake management, case management. Historically, I think people probably think of Filevine as case management, Lead Docket as CRM, or maybe intake management. But I noticed on the homepage of Filevine when I looked, I don't know when this changed.
I saw this too this morning.
I think it's AI Legal Assistant. Like that is the homepage title.
Are you picking on our guests'
not at all.
SEO efforts?
Not at all.
Yes,
actually.
you are.
So it's already changed. I had to check the website this morning.
Wait, we didn't tell you this.
Breaking.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
We've
breaking
changed the title
news
tag.
for anyone who is in this room and wants to be in the main stage room in the next hour. You probably should hear about that new release that's going to be releasing. We haven't talked about it in public yet.
Oh, you uncovered.
I broke it.
Very
yeah,
good.
I think it's hit the website before it's hit everything else. But
okay, so just to summarize for our listeners, the title tag change on the homepage was an accident because you are going to be showing something off later today.
That's correct.
And the web team preempted, and Guy figured this out with a little sleuthing.
Yeah. Now, what I'll say is that we're going to be talking about something that we are releasing very, very soon to all of our customers.
Do you want to talk about it now?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Ryan Anderson would really love that if I announce it before he does.
And Brian definitely listens to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, so we definitely want to make sure that we don't break that news.
Okay.
But anyway, I didn't even mean to. Actually, I didn't just step in, and I didn't even mean to do that. But what I wanted to kind of get a sense of is, without getting into all the details, it's clear that the vision is to support lawyers with the client journey well beyond just case management and intake. And so I was really curious, and again, you can say we can't really talk about it, but I'm just curious what the experience is from a client standpoint, starting at the potential client, right? So I'm looking around for lawyers. I'm calling an LSA ad, or I'm searching on a lawyer's name, and I'm filling out a form or interacting with a chatbot. Where does Filevine and Lead Docket in the future of that fit in that journey? Is it, and again, if you can say, hey, you got to wait a little bit because we're going to talk about that. But I'm just curious about it's like, does it start right from that first touch point? Because it seems like if you really want to capture that entire journey, you want that initial data to be captured and carried through the entire process.
Yeah, that's right. So we already have a functionality called Chat with Your Case, which is bringing in all the case data inside of Filevine. That ability to chat with your case is that ability to search things within a particular project in Filevine and be able to source data directly. Like, give me the last 7 days of things that have happened in this. So if a problematic client calls and the managing attorney needs to get on the phone, they can have a real-time update. With what we've done with Lead Docket, passing the data into Filevine, it actually all goes into the project immediately when it's created. We have a direct integration that no other case management platform has with Lead Docket. It's Lead Docket and Filevine directly integrate. There's a lot of information that gets passed back and forth as well. And so the information that goes into Lead Docket all gets pushed into Filevine, which helps enrich the data when the project starts or when the case starts. And so when you're asking questions against it, you're not just asking about what happened in Filevine, you're actually seeing the data from within Lead Docket as well. And so
with the client portal.
And with Client Portal as well. So you're getting all of that client journey, as we like to describe it as, from the very beginning, that first touch point to wherever they are. And that leads all the way into depositions. So our Depos product also sources the data from the case and the documents within the case to source potential discrepancies in some of the depositions that are going on.
So some of that data that's really, I mean, this is something we talk about probably ad nauseum for our listeners, is attribution modeling, right? And I want to get into Lead Docket's approach to attribution modeling, and bringing that in. So Clio, for example, famously had what was the Avo? It was Clio Grow, which was, what was it originally called? Lexicata. Thank you. So and then Clio Grow and Clio Manage didn't really work very well together for a while. And we spent a lot of our clients' money putting those things together.
Here's Conrad making friends with everybody.
I'm
truth teller. Go ahead, keep going.
well after. I don't want. This is not because they have their exclusive partnership with Scorpion. This is a completely completely separate thing, dude.
Do you have an exclusive partnership with Scorpion?
Not exclusive, no.
Okay.
Not exclusive.
Preferred.
Is it preferred?
Sold.
No, it's a partnership. I think
Okay.
is the way we're going to say it.
Okay,
smart.
that's- and not sold.
Good choice. Good choice of
partnership.
words.
Yeah, good.
We have
Good
many
choice of
partners.
words. Smart, really
Good.
smart.
Yeah, partnering with the podcast. Anyway, I digress. Bringing back to dual source attribution modeling, one of the things that Guy and I have talked about way too many times on this pod, and that does not seem to be really well solved, is this automated attribution modeling, which is typically a last touch or first touch, which agencies use to lie about how well they're doing, especially with Google Business Profile. And then there's the how did you hear about us? And getting that data in all the way through and getting maybe to revenue where you can actually talk about ROI becomes really, really valuable. What is brought in from Lead Docket, and what is actually captured within Lead Docket, and how does that work from a dual source perspective?
Yeah. So the first thing is any of your first source attribution, which would be your web forms, your phone calls that are coming through, any of your call rails, call tracking metrics, anything that you've integrated into the system, those are automatically being tracked, right? So you enter a phone number that it correlates to a call that's coming in. We automatically pull that in and say it came from this call rail number, and it could be from this website or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Additionally, if it's a web form, you're getting all that information as well. You're getting UTMs, referring URLs, campaign IDs, click IDs. You're going to get, your current URL. So maybe they, searched on Google and what keywords did they use? And then they landed on your web page, but which the web page did they actually go to? Then they contacted you, right? So it's sometimes not just important that they went to your web page and contacted you, but maybe they went to your attorney page and read about an attorney and then hit the contact us button.
Does that run historically?
It does.
Okay, so this is a client who saw us 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
So, I think that's a little harder in Lead Docket based off of just what's being sent from. Now, if it is being sent from your web form provider, and it just depends on who you're using for that, I can tell you from a phone call perspective, if they've ever called your law firm, say they called 3 weeks ago, and then they call back.
Yeah.
And say they don't sign up the first time they call. Say that they call and then, they hang up, right? Like halfway through, and then they call back. That's going to be tracked as well, right? So we're going to have those in there. So I'll say that's kind of the first part, right? Like how did they really get to us originally? And then the next part is kind of that dual source, right? How did you hear about us? Because they're going to say things that aren't always true. We've had this conversation where my previous law firm, we'd get calls and they'd be like, I saw you on the truck. We didn't have a commercial where we were on a truck. All right. But they saw something that reminded them of that reminded them of us as the firm. And so we were able to say, okay, we even had a particular drop down inside of Lead Docket that said, wrong attorney commercial or wrong attorney billboard. right? But then there's custom field data that you're able to actually input as well that asks those questions, okay? You say you saw a billboard. Which billboard, right? That matters, right? Which location? That also matters. Does it correlate to the accident location, right? Because sometimes they're going to say, hey, I saw your billboard on I-95, but their accident happened in, Atlanta. Well, that doesn't actually correlate to where it is, right? So they remember something that they saw. So how do we keep those together, right? How did they call us? How did they get to us? And then also, what's that dual source attribution, which is we really need to ask the detailed questions, because sometimes our agencies are going to say, hey, we saw
they do.
10 Google conversions yesterday. Well, we all know what a Google conversion is, right? Click or a call, but did it actually relate to a case? Did it actually develop? So we have webhooks inside of Lead Docket that pass back to those attribution sites or pass back to Google Analytics to say, this actually became something, so that when Google uses that algorithm to actually tailor to your client brand, you're able to actually see better analytics coming into Lead Docket or better customers coming into Lead Docket.
But the dual source, you mentioned dropdown, and this is one of the things that I think is a miss.
Yeah.
Because we as simplistic marketing people like to draw pretty pie graphs, and so it's really important for us to be able to say that this pen came from this one marketing channel, and we all know that doesn't really work that way. It's a dropdown, right?
Well, no, there is a dropdown, but you can have correlating questions off of that.
So you could build off of that and
absolutely.
have a free form.
Yeah.
And so for our listeners, this is one thing we've talked about all the time, the real importance of having the automated attribution modeling where you're going to understand with that first or last touch, but also that free form source in dual source, because you never know what you're going to get out of that.
Right.
I hate your ad. I love your ad. Whatever it might be, that's so valuable.
Right.
So I just want to clarify something, because this sounds pretty cool. Can you automatically push back from either, whether it's Lead Docket or Filevine or wherever you're getting it from, to Google Ads and tell the machine, hey, I want to change bids based on this client profile?
Yeah, so it's a connection with Zapier. So it's a webhook that gets passed from Lead Docket that is based off of whatever status it ends up in. So if it is in, you can set the status to say, if it's a pending sign up or if it's in signed up, pass this back once it's signed up, or if it gets rejected or lost, pass this information back, right? And so those get passed through Zapier, and then you can parse it in Zapier to pass to the direct source in Google Analytics.
That's great. And you could take that also qualitative data. So you could say, hey, only communicate back to the machine for these ones that don't have dispositions that relate to referral, or they said they heard us from a billboard or something.
Correct.
So I think that's really powerful, right? Because that solves your issue.
That's right.
Which is that you can actually segment and do media buys based on non-brand without conflating it with brand. The other thing that I apologize if this is the website that I wasn't supposed to see, but is Leads AI something you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was really, well, go ahead and tell us about what Leads AI does.
Yeah, so Leads AI, there's really two portions of it. The first portion is AI summaries. And so we do AI summaries at 3 different levels. We do them at the lead level, right? So we want, they have custom prompts that look at, by case type, to look at information within the lead and pull out a beautifully crafted summary for the attorney, really, to review it. Because there's a lot of times where the attorney's like, I don't want to read this email that has 75 custom fields in it and try to determine if we should take this case. I need a summary. Think of it as a narrative on a police report that what actually happened in this particular case. So we have it at the lead level. We have it at the messages level that actually looks at the tone and direction of your messages. How are you communicating with your client, and how is your client communicating with you, with some additional red flags that can be raised based off of the client communication. And then we have notes, which really just pulls in a really crafted timeline to say, okay, the lead started here. Here are some of the dates that have changed, and here is kind of the end result. And then the last part of it is the predictive analytics that we have as well, which is right now trained on motor vehicle accident cases, but it additionally will actually predict, should you take this case or not? All right, we call it fee or no fee in the application, but it's looked at over 1 million plus leads and 10 million plus data points across Lead Docket customers to essentially say, we notice the ones that get signed up, and here are the questions that were asked and answered. And then we notice the ones that got rejected, and here are the severity levels that may dictate. It also looks at...
Is that customized to the law firm?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
So
law firm chooses their questions based off of
because I think that's really important. I think we live in this very simplistic world, especially most marketers. So I don't know what my problem with marketers is today.
Today?
Okay. But where it's like all cases, like we look at this as a commodity, and that I think is so missed, that like some cases are great for some firms and they're terrible for other firms.
That's right.
And so making that customized, that's really fast.
And the intersection. I think my thing that's sort of interesting about this is like, because you carry data from intake all the way through, you can inform your front-end marketing metrics with your back-end business metrics. So you can see things like, well, I'm being presumptuous. I guess the question would be, can you use interactions in client portal to inform how you would change things in intake? Like maybe there's reports you can run from client portal to say, hey, we're identifying that these clients, I'm making something up. There'd be some kind of attribute that you'd see a pattern in your actual portal data that could be used to inform your front-end marketing, adjusting where you're spending money.
I mean, the most common example of this is some channels perform great compared to others, right? So lead generation providers tend to have really low quality leads. You can probably see that in your data moving forward, right?
Right. But beyond even the intake, I think that's the interesting thing to me is because, as we're talking about it, like you only get so much through intake, right?
That's exactly right? So like you'll start to see, and you guys probably have this that feeds back in, that these types of matters turn into valuable cases where they convert into good cases, right? And I think there becomes a conversion rate for different marketing channels that becomes fascinating, right? And probably an ROI.
Yeah.
We haven't done this yet, but it does make for a good case to say with the client portal, if this particular type of client is, we'll say, unruly, right? They want to ask 1,000 questions. What led to that? Which source did they come from, right? Like, like you said, was it a lead gen source, right? Are we noticing lead gen sources? We're getting clients that are constantly asking 100 questions, right? And passing that back to Lead Docket. So there is a pass back from Filevine to Lead Docket when the case actually ends, right? So that's in the what we call terminal status or terminal phase, which could be that you settled the case or it could be that it closed out. But I do think, like, from a client portal perspective, it does make a lot of sense to start trying to figure out what clients are, good clients and what clients are causing the most communication or the most deviation from the typical process.
And that's something we've been eyeing for because we're building out our roadmap. We mentioned the portal launched a year ago, so it's still really new. We're still building out, adding more robust features. We've done a ton in the past year, but one of the things we have our eye on is how can we make reporting even better? Because that's the next level of now you have the functionality, now you have the information getting to clients. Now you can more easily get information documents from clients and it comes into the project in a way that's really easy, really efficient. So now how do we use that data that's flowing back and forth to make it easier for law firms to understand what communications are happening and how that's impacting future cases and future interactions that they're going to have?
So you mentioned a roadmap for the client portal. And generically speaking, not just about what you guys do, but for our generic audience that's very special. What is the feature that you think would be the biggest add? Like, what's the thing that you're most excited about that's going to work on client delight, making sure that we're marketing well to our existing customers? Like, what does that look like? Or can you not tell us?
We have a battle on this, by the way.
Okay, great. So
I always have like this idea that NPS is great, but we have a way to do NPS now that we didn't have a year ago.
Okay.
But it's not called NPS. And I think everybody thinks
for our
so.
audience who's special, what's NPS?
Net Promoter Score.
And what is that?
Right. So typically it's on a range from 0 to 10.
Okay.
Right. And you would love to be above a 7, right? That means you're doing a really good job.
And what's the question from an NPS that it asks?
It depends. All law firms are different, right?
Okay.
And it depends on when you're getting the NPS.
Okay.
Right.
And that's part of the strategy of the NPS too is how do we phrase it? Do we get different responses depending on how it's phrased?
Okay.
Is it phase-based in Filevine, right? So say that you're right out of intake, you'll probably get some really good NPS scores, right? Like that's the honeymoon phase. We did a really good job. We signed them up. They're getting all the things they need immediately. You'll probably get some really good NPS. And should that filter back to your Google reviews? Maybe. Right.
Okay.
But let's talk about what's 6 months into the case. We should probably send out and say, how well are we doing then? Right. Because they're probably not going to have the same answer that they had 30 days into the case.
Right.
And so we have that argument a lot, but Stefanie's probably got some better ideas than I do most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, NPS is huge because law firms need that feedback.
Okay.
We now have forms. We have client portal forms, which you can send out at whatever time you want. You have a template that you say, these are the questions I want to ask. And then you choose who you want to receive it, when they should receive it. And when they submit it, it goes directly into the project, and then you can report on that because it goes into the fields that you've created in your template in Filevine. So you can create a form that's an NPS form, and you could create, say, a 60-day NPS, 90-day NPS, et cetera, or phase-based. This is the NPS we send out when we switch to this phase or this phase. And so then it comes back, and then you could report across Filevine, across all your products, of what's the average response we're getting at 60 days or once we leave the treatment phase or whatever it might be.
But I think there's a step further. You also know which team's working on that.
Yeah.
You know what attorney's working on that. And so you can start to kind of gamify the system to say, like, how are my particular pods or attorney teams and paralegal teams working within these, and how are their scores? Which ones are paired up best to work the fastest or work the way that they need to work to create a client interaction that client's going to tell 10 other people how great we are.
So everyone hates working with Bill, but Nancy's NPS score shows that people like her, right?
Yeah.
So it's time that into HR. I'm fascinated with, you mentioned time, like 60, 90 days. Have you seen data on time versus phase, right? So it seems to me logical that you'd want to see how people are feeling as they go through the process. But one of the major elements is these things take a long time, right? And so there's a time element that has an impact on your overall favorability feeling that has nothing to do with the lawyering that's being done. It's just taking a long time because that's how things work. Do you have recommendations for our listeners on, should you be thinking about this from a time perspective, or should you thinking about it from a phase perspective? I know Hona did a lot of work on the phase. Like, we moved from a phase, we hit NPS, and they've talked really a lot about how that has been a big driver for reviews because you can check in on these phases. I'm wondering if you're seeing that time is actually a more important thing.
It's both. And it depends on the case, and it depends on the firm. And as we were saying before, it depends on the client.
Okay.
Right? Every client is different. So there are going to be different clients who are like, I know this is going, I don't have to worry about it, and I just want to know when something changes. There are clients who are going to say, I want an update every single week, or I'm going to feel like nothing's getting done.
Okay.
Right? So there's also going to be a difference. If there is a phase change, by nature, you've gotten an update. So you're feeling like something's moving, something's changing, versus time-based. And again, this is different based on from case to case. But if you have a case that's sitting in treatment for 3 months, or the court date is, a year out because there's a huge backlog on the docket, then it's really important to keep a client updated even when there isn't that phase change. And that time span is when they're more likely to get frustrated and feel like they're not getting those communications.
Okay.
One other thing that I want to talk about in the context of Client Portal, it seems like Client Portal is a great opportunity also to stay in touch with clients even after the representation. And then the other thing that, and again, I have no idea if this is on the roadmap or anything, but we talk all the time about continuing to market to happy clients even beyond, because they become referrals. Maybe you could talk about some of the ways that you envision Client Portal supporting lawyers in staying in touch with clients after a representation. And then the other one that, and I think I saw this on the website too, that I thought was really interesting is how does Client Portal support lawyers that are trying to manage referrals? So if they refer a case out, or are there ways to configure it so that you can keep referrals updated?
So that's something that we haven't done yet. That it's definitely something we've talked about. And I mean, even after a case is closed, there's always going to be that messaging feature so that clients can send messages back and so forth. So it's not cut off. It's not like a client loses access to the Client Portal. So that's definitely something that we have the capability of. And right now, firms could send a message or have a message sent in. Do you do referrals on the Leads AI or on the Lead Docket side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have referrals that can be automated and have referral dashboards that can update the firms that are involved, right? So we have two different options. When you're referring out within Lead Docket, you can refer out to a singular firm. So say you're a small practice and you have 5 referral firms, and you say they're by practice area, and I want to send this divorce case to this particular attorney, and I do it every time. That's who I'm doing it to. Or you're a large firm and you have hundreds of referral partners, and we have referral trees as well, or referral groups as we call them. And that has the waterfall effect, where there's 5, we allow 5 firms in the group, and it says, hey, if, we refer it to one doesn't take it, it rolls to 2, and 2 doesn't take it, it rolls all the way down. And then it comes back to a determination point for the law firm to say, what should we do with this going forward? But if they do take it, there's a referral dashboard that shows where it is within that process for the referred to firm and also for the Lead Docket customer as well. And so those are able to keep it up, and you can actually have set reminders that remind the law firm to update the status of where that referred to case is. So you can imagine that most law firms have this giant spreadsheet, and they're like, these are all the cases we referred. And then they have someone on staff who emails every one of those every 180 days.
Maybe emails everybody.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Or just hopes that it shows up in the mail one day, right? And so with Lead Docket's referrals, it actually automatically asks for an update. It automatically asks for projected settlement dates or how much the settlement might be. So you can start to project how much money may be coming in the door from your referral partners as well.
That's great. And then vice versa. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, so thank you for navigating this so effortlessly. But let's say it's vice versa. Let's say I'm receiving a referral in. Presumably, I'm a Lead Docket customer. I'm tracking that coming in through Lead Docket.
A lawyer referral.
Yeah, lawyer referral. Thank you.
Making sure the state we're in, make sure that's legal.
Yeah. So we're coming in, and then we sign the client up. So then now they're in the client's in Client Portal. Mm-hmm. Is there a way? And I think you mentioned this before, but Client Portal can talk to Lead Docket. So I could say, I'm just trying to think how the flow would work here. You would say, all right, status change in the Client Portal. Something happened in the Client Portal. Mm-hmm. That'll inform Lead Docket to fire a message out to the referral partner to say, hey, just wanted to keep you updated. We just entered discovery or something like that.
Yeah. So Lead Docket and Filevine have the connection. Filevine talks back to Lead Docket based on what we call phase mapping. And so if a phase changes in Filevine that updates in the Client Portal, that's going to update the phase that passes back to Lead Docket, right? And so inside of your Lead Docket, at the very top of each one of the leads, even if they're signed up, it's going to say a specific status in Lead Docket they're in, but we typically use the substatus of what phase they are in Filevine. So it will say it's already pushed to Filevine, but it will say that it's in signed up status, and that substatus is going to be in treatment or, depositions are set or whatever it is. However they name their phases in Filevine, we map those back as substatuses in Lead Docket.
Got it. And now the tough question. If I'm not a customer of all 3 of those products,
Yep.
can I still do that kind of...
No, that's the purpose. We want you in all 3 of them, right? We want you to be in every one of them.
But this is
We know you want it.
This is right. I get that, and
Yeah.
this was one of the things that where we tripped up with Scorpion. We tried to be polite, but like in the effort. So very big picture. You have a lot of money coming in to this organization. People want to grow the revenue. The people who put that money in want to see revenue growth. And the easiest way to make that happen is to have a forcing function to work within your walled garden of tools. Right. That is a model, right? And it can become problematic. So yes, I get that you want them in.
Yeah.
But it becomes problematic for some.
So the phase change and the phase mapping from Lead Docket to Filevine is a function that works between those 2 applications solely. Lead Docket does have other integrations with other case management platforms.
Okay.
All right. So we have firms that are on other platforms. I won't name them, but we have other firms that are on.
We won't make you name them.
Could you give us some examples?
No.
Maybe with logos.
No. Won't be doing that one. And then there's firms that use different client portals inside of Filevine as well. And there's no, look, if you are comfortable with another client portal and that's where you want to have your particular cases be sourced from your clients and have that conversation, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
We just built something that is integrated directly into our platform and saying that we can offer a secure way that your data doesn't live in 2 databases. It doesn't live in 2 systems, and it's real time.
Okay.
So that's the connection there.
And then you're also not having to check multiple places. You're not having to go outside of Filevine to see your client communications in the client communications dashboard. It's all in that same place that you're managing your cases to begin with.
It's a very Apple perspective, right?
I mean, we're also not charging for it.
Okay.
Yeah, our client portal is free.
Yeah.
To clarify, the client portal is free.
Yeah.
And how much does a client portal cost compared to the competitors?
Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
Any other audience questions?
Yeah, by the way, this is a segment of audience questions. Thank you, Brian, for leading us down this path. I promise we will answer more succinctly. Anyone else? Outstanding. Go, have at it.
I was just wondering, is there any plans to build a web extension so that way you get the real-time notifications when someone messages you via client portal?
So right now, those real-time notifications are happening through Filevine. So you can get it in terms of this, it's configured in Filevine. So you can get a text message, you can get an email, you can get a Slack message when a client communication comes in. So it is real time. It comes outside, it can come outside of Filevine, it can come within Filevine, but it's all managed directly within Filevine.
At our firm, I discourage the hourly employees, the legal assistants and paralegals, from having the notifications to their cell phones. So that way they can have personal lives when, they're not working. And emails, it takes them time to respond to them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was just wondering, it's something type of a notification that pops up as soon as because some of our case managers have 150, 200 cases. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we want them to be able to respond to the clients in near real time.
So what you're probably asking for is something that is pretty important, but I think it's more of like subscriptions to things that happen within a Filevine project. That is important, and I've actually had this conversation with many firms. It is something on the roadmap. I can at least say that there's this ability to have a subscription to client portal messages only versus subscribers in Filevine get every single notification. And if you're the attorney on 150 cases, you have no clue where to start half the time, right? Mary in finance just ordered the police report that cost $11. You as the attorney don't want that notification. And so I think subscriptions are going to be the answer to that. And that's something that the Filevine team is actively looking into.
Yeah, and then just clarification on client communications. What are all the ways that the clients can receive communication from that portal?
So the communications themselves come directly in the portal, and clients can be notified via email, via text, or via push notification, depending on how they're invited and if they opt in, if they do the Progressive web app. So those are how they are notified that there's an update within the client portal. And then they can click on that notification and it'll take them to see the message or see the form or whatever it is that was sent to them.
Got it. That makes sense.
We intentionally do not add the context to what is in the message,
right?
Because it creates another lane of communication, right? If you get a text message,
the security aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
If you get a text message that says, "Hey, we need your social security number," and they reply to the text instead of going to the portal and replying in the portal for the security purposes, now we have breached that issue. So
that makes sense.
This is from my office manager. She says, what's the difference between the forms in the client portal that you can create to fill out the case info versus the forms in Immigration AI?
That's a great question. So the forms in Immigration AI are actual government documents that have to be filled out and submitted somewhere. So if you think about, I'm blanking on the numbers of the forms, but any sort of government form where it has a number and it has, this is the layout, these are the specific fields, that's what the forms in Immigration AI are. The forms in Client Portal are the ones that you create based on fields in your project. Now, you could create a Client Portal form based on questions you have to answer for an immigration form, but the forms in the Client Portal are completely configurable based on, here are all the fields in your project, choose which ones you want, change the wording so it makes sense to the client, send it to them. When they fill it out, it's going to populate those fields in Filevine. Whereas in Immigration AI, once you go through, it populates that form that has to be submitted as part of a case.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Taylor.
So with
Taylor,
us,
are you a plant? You guys look like you know each other pretty well. Are you going to ask how expensive the client portal is?
It's free.
I think I got my answer from that one.
Okay.
But I have a more important question for the Lead Docket side. So with being how often we're seeing Lead Docket implementations come through, we're seeing a very, very high uptick in those firms that are doing referral based only, not using Lead Docket natively like most firms do, but using it as referral based only. Are there any plans on starting to open up, not just doing the referral dashboard, but also doing more API integrations to have those kind of push back into Lead Docket if that's what these firms or these different companies are doing on a referral base?
So are you asking about Lead Docket to Lead Docket connections?
No.
Okay.
No, this
All right, I
would
want
be
to confirm that.
Firm A refers out to all of these different partners,
Yep.
and they all have different case management systems, but they want to stay updated.
Yeah.
But they don't want to have it go through the referral dashboard. So will there be an API connection that'll be available that's a lot easier to configure rather than doing it via Zapier and trying to figure out, okay, what does this other platform have? How do we get that connected back into Lead Docket so that referral firm A can stay in the know if they don't have Filevine to do that kind of
That is a
connection?
great question.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. There is at least what we consider an open issue with that ticket, right? That we are actively looking at in the future. You're well aware of our roadmap majority of the time as you do a lot of work with us. And so I would love to say that's on the roadmap, but it's a little further down than some of the current work that's being worked on.
And let me just build on that. I think one of the important things, and this was the kind of the gist of my question earlier, the best management system that you can have is the one that you currently have, right? And that's something that we've kind of tried to push all the time. Like, unless there are really major problems with it, changing these things, it's a big deal to make these changes. It is a massive internal change management process to make some of these changes. And that's why I love the openness, and that's why I love the question that you had.
Kind of related to Taylor's question about the API in all of these tools, and we've talked a lot about the client experience and getting phase-based and time-based notifications about where they're at in their case. Is there any thought to what the pipeline looks like for the client portal's API access for event-based notifications, event-based updates such as, we just got a new offer from your insurance carrier, or there's a team change on your case and here's the person that you can talk to from now on, or merge fields from your actual fields in the project to say, hey, you know what, we got an offer from this carrier, it was for this much money, and here's what we're going to do about it. And thank you.
Yeah, I love those ideas. That's something we've been thinking about, that it's not yet on the roadmap, but we've heard that from a few firms is we have specific fields that we want this information to go to the client. What we have right now is forms can show case information. So not only are forms used to collect information and documents from the client, but also to share information back. So you can have read-only fields on forms that show, as of when the form is opened by the client, this is what data is in that field in Filevine. So the workaround we have right now, as we're thinking about a better way to do this long term, is you could have those fields that, I want to show, is there a settlement? Yes. How much is the settlement offer? This much, and have that on a form that gets sent to a client. We've been thinking about what is the best way to go about having certain pieces of data that are configurable, that are different for each firm, each project type, to get additional information to clients without needing that manual step. So that's something we've been thinking about.
Hey guys. So for the communication portal there, I don't know this, so this is a twofold question. Does our messages from as team members show who is, giving out the response, and if it's based off of the team member, so the client knows who they're talking to, can that be changed? We have team members that are on vacation, and we don't want to confuse the client by having some new para, answering or things like that. Or as a client happiness coordinator, if they're checking in, does it distinguish, who's talking?
So yes, it does show who in Filevine sent the message. Right now, that is not something that can be changed, but that is not the first time we've heard it. So that is something that's on our radar.
Well, unfortunately, we're about out of time. But Josh, Stefanie, thank you so much for joining us today. I thought it was a very valuable conversation, and so grateful that you've had us here at LEX Summit. Hope you have a terrific show. And I know we'll be releasing this after the show, but I'll wish you good luck on your opening remarks coming up in a few minutes here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah,
you,
thank
guys.
you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. Until next time, this is Conrad and Guy saying farewell for Lunch Hour Legal Marketing at LEX Summit 2025.
Money makes a it makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.